So it's almost Christmas. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I thought it would be fun to put together a Christmas project for kids. So leveraging my new laser cutter engraver and some electronic circuitry, I've designed a fun ornament, a Rudolph ornament for the kids. What value does it have for you? Well, it gives the kids something to do and leave you alone for a little while. But it also uses a 555 timer, but more importantly, it kind of shows you how to create interesting PCB designs within KiCAD. So to get started, what I'm showing you is Inkscape. It is an open source illustration tool, kind of like Adobe Illustrator, but an open source version. And I have a modified ornament here that I actually purchased online, unmodified, from designbundles.net. I'll include a link to this in the description. And it's only $2. And the ornament we're using is this one right here. And as you can tell, mine is different than that. And I'm going to walk you through how mine is different. I decided to use this because I thought it looked kind of like a good Rudolph. And I went through and modified it. So let's kind of discuss what those modifications were. So for starters, with this, I'm not going to teach you how to use Inkscape, but I'm going to show you a couple things that certainly help out when you go to the laser cutter. If you're not aware, for the K40, I use K40 Whisper, which is a piece of software that drives the K40. And certain colors within an SVG file determine what the K40 is going to do. Red is a cut, blue is a vector engrave, and black is a raster. So what you see here are lots of cuts. Now over here you'll notice I have some layers. And I do this so that basically everything, if I scale something, and as you'll see shortly, if I put it onto a PCB, and I need to match up the holes, you'll see how that's done. So looking at this, let's turn off the second layer. So this is the first layer, and this whole piece basically is cut out, and the kids can paint it whatever they want. I made mine white. So that's pretty simple. You send that to the laser cutter, boom, you got a piece. You turn that off, you turn this one on. This is the back piece that the kids can actually paint. These cutout circles represent where the LEDs are going to come through. And the blue, as I said, is a vector engrave, a vector cut really, but with a limited depth. So that spells out my name and the year and shows Rudolph. So let's go and look at a video of those getting made, and it'll kind of make more sense. So let's go ahead and take a look at the schematic. It's actually pretty simple. We've got what I call the snowflake LEDs here. They have the ability to blink slow or fast depending on which ones you buy. That flashing is built into them. I just added a 220 ohm resistor to it, and they go right to 5 volts. They're not part of the 555 circuit. The 555 is specifically used for Rudolph's nose, It has a pot on it that you can adjust the speed. If we look at the circuit, this is super simple. It's basically a 555 running in astable mode so that it just continually clocks itself based on whatever duty cycle you've dialed in. If you want to change it yourself, you can start off by changing the pot or the cap here, increasing. Either one of those will start to increase the maximum delay time. Here's a little calculation you can use if you want. I had a tough time deciding how I was going to power this. I've done them in the past with batteries. I've done ornaments in the past with batteries, and the truth is that it's just a pain in the butt. They drain batteries quickly because they have LEDs in them. I just decided, because I had a large collection of 5-volt wall warts that I picked up for dirt cheap, I did it with a barrel jack 5-volt wall wart. You got a power switch here. We've got a diode in here for polarity protection. You go right into the 555, which goes right into driving Rudolph's nose. That's pretty much it. If we go over to the PCB, this is where it actually gets a little bit interesting. So since we're using a laser cutout of the tree and Rudolph, we've got basically 3 layers. You've got the first layer, which is the outside of the ornament with the antlers on the top. You can paint those. Then you've got the inside with the name, the year, Rudolph. You can paint that also. And then you got this PCB that basically connects to the back. You want to use hot glue when you're ready. Go ahead and attach it to the back, and then you've got the whole thing. Well, you need to make sure that those holes, let's see if I can pull it up here. These holes need to match exactly where the LEDs are. And the way that you can do that is and you can do this with any, obviously, projects that you come up with in the future, and I'll show you kind of how to think about that in a minute. Let's just do this obvious thing. We need to make sure that this lines up. So the easiest way to do that in Inkscape is we're going to do a save as, and we're going to save it as this AutoCAD DFX R14. R14 is definitely the key. We're going to replace it. I'm going to replace it there. We're going to save it. You want to choose the defaults. You want the base units to be the same on both KiCAD and in Netscape. I'm using millimeters. Yes, I want to replace it. Okay. So now if we go over here, you can see I don't have any cut lines yet. Those would be the yellow ones. And I don't have anything to make sure that the LEDs are in the correct place. So what we want to do is go and we're going to import a graphic. And that graphic has already been selected. It's in millimeters. We're going to put it on the user drawing layer, and I'm going to say OK. So there we go. Now, since everything is in the same base unit, nothing is actually scaled, everything should line up. So look at that. If you start to take a look, you can see where you can line these up. And if we zoom in, you can see where we can start to move this around. Here, let's paste it back in. That's the only thing that kind of sucks, is you've got to be really careful. It's kind of difficult at this point to move it after the fact. So you zoom in, and you can use the arrow keys like I'm doing now. So what I actually did was I laid it out, then I moved the LEDs on the board before I did the traces to match. That's why it matches so perfectly now. And you can turn that off and on, you know, as you need by clicking on the drawings. Now the edge cut, that's another interesting problem that can be solved the exact same way, but you're going to bring it into the edge cuts. So you do that. Let's go back over. I'll go ahead and add another layer. And on this layer, let's see what we got on it. Nothing. So I'm going to go to this layer. I'm going to grab everything, copy it. I am going to then turn it off and it off. Go here, and then I'm going to paste it. Okay. Then I'm going to move it into some level of position. I'm not too concerned about that. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't need these. I don't need this. And the truth is look at this. I don't really need this. So how do I get rid of it? Well, if we go to the curves and we take a look at what's going on here, we can see that we can get rid of a lot of stuff. Let's just start killing all this stuff. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. I've got it on a separate layer. I'm also going to tell this tool that my canvas only needs to be the size of this one drawing, and that's done by, you could do a Shift Control R is one way. I'm going to save it. I'm going to go to File, Save As. And in this case, let's see, we'll just call it layer 3 for now. And we want to save that as another DFX. Yes. Okay. Go back. This time we're going to choose the cuts. So I've chosen the cut layer on the PCB, and I'm going to do an import. And this time I want to choose layer 3. Make sure everything's the same and make sure this is the cuts. Okay. Oh, well, it's not what I expected. Did I grab the wrong one? You could use that if you wanted, and that was kind of going to be one of the points I made, but hold on. Let's go. Oh, hold on. Oh, these are hidden. So for some reason it's not recognizing that they're hidden. So what I'll do is I'll go in and just create a new one real fast. The problem is it's not recognizing the layers as separate. It put everything together. So now I'm going to save this by itself. There's no layers as that. Let's see, Rudolph layer 3. Okay. SVGA, layer 3, save. Okay, replace it. So now if I go back, tell it to import, and it is layer 3 to the cuts. We only get the tree. See that? So that's really what is really cool about this, is that instead of having to draw, I mean, it's no big deal if your PCB is a rectangle, right? But when your PCBs become complicated, such as some of these badge designs and stuff, by leveraging Inkscape, you can now get the edge cuts for your PCBs. And in fact, I'll do a separate video on it. We'll take a complicated case and we'll do it. But you've seen basically how it's done right here. I'll do it like a quick tip so it's not a long video. But that's really all there was to it. I needed to line up those LED holes. That was, I thought, was going to be difficult. It was very easy. And then to basically do the outline was really simple too, once I figured out how to save as that R14 DFX format. All right, so let's go put one of these together on the bench. All right, so there's really not much to the PCBs. I might have mentioned I had JLCPCB manufacture these. The really interesting thing about it is just kind of the shape and the alignment of the LEDs to the laser cut pieces, which I showed you. So to put these together, not rocket science. It's all through Hull. Typically what I do is start with the lowest pieces. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and grab some slow flashing RGB, lights. Guess I still have a cold. I'm also going to get some fast blinking ones. Keep them separate. So I'm going to go ahead and start by putting those on. Let me get my glasses. Okay. So we want the lights on the back, technically, and the electronics on the front. The front says Merry Christmas on it. That's how we know. And you want to make sure you put the LEDs in correctly. Cathode is the short leg, anode is the long leg. Okay, so that was a fast one. I'll put in a slow one now. Now, you can fill out all these pieces first if you want. It's just never really been the way I do it. Got the one more after this one. It's the red one for Rudolph's nose. And the red one is, let's see. Okay. Just checking to make sure it's flat. Okay. Save these longer clips. Okay, so that's everything that goes on the face. Remember, this is the piece. Let me grab one. This is the side that then overlays onto the wooden piece. See how they line up? Then you end up gluing it into place with a little bit of hot glue on the other side. But it lines up pretty good. Okay. Now what we need to do is, on the component side, we need to start putting some resistors in. Most of them are 220s, 220 ohms. All right. Yeah, I do try to make all the resistor colors go in the same direction. Just makes it look nicer, I guess. If you've got ideas for other Christmas projects, share them with me. Maybe next year we'll put one together. I did a Christmas clock for my daughter one year that I've never shown you guys. So I've kind of been holding that one in my back pocket if I didn't have another idea. You gotta start these projects for Christmas kind of early. This one's actually kind of late. You know, you want to be able to give them to people and have their kids, you know, color it, or paint it, or whatever they're going to do, and give them some time for that. Let's see. I think we've got one more 220. Oh, we got two 220s. If you've never played around with a 555 timer, I mean, that's really the heart of this, and it's only being used for Rudolph's nose. The other LEDs have flashing built into them. And you can get them fast or slow. I don't know what the frequency rate is or the duty cycle on them is, but okay, then I've got a 4.1K here, and that'll be it for all the resistors except for one I need to point out that I had to bodge into place because of a mistake I made on the original. This is a 4.7K. Alright, now let's go ahead and put in the that in a minute. Let me put in the, where are they? 555s? No. Probably right in front of me. Sorry about the workpiece. I keep trying to move it back into the center. So this is the 555 timer. Has a little dot on it. You want to make sure that you install it. It's got the U on it. Make it sure you install it in the correct direction. All the pins. And I think I've shown you before, I have a habit of soldering on opposite corners due to heat. And then I do the same thing in the middle with the idea that I'm less likely to damage any ICs due to heat. Okay, so now we can do a couple other pieces. I think the highest piece here is going to be that that cap. So we'll put the on-off button. looks good. I got one leg kind of straight before I did the others. You want to cut these down so they don't hit the wood when you press down on it. We've got the barrel jack for the power. I might have mentioned how I went back and forth with this on the how to power this thing. Obviously, some type of battery power is your best, but man, trying to find one that would actually last a while, not real easy to do. You don't want mom and dad having to pull some ornament off the tree to charge it, or pull an ornament off the tree to put a new batteries in it. It's just, so anyway, you do need to remove these also to get it. That way it still lays flat. Let's see, I've been trying to put in these diodes, basically they're reverse protection diodes. I need to find a better one. This is the classic 1N4001 diode, 1 amp. And the only thing wrong with it is the amount of voltage that gets dropped across it. I mean, it's going to cost you like 0.6, 0.7 volts, which in this design doesn't matter, but it's really kind of too much. If you know of a better, just a reverse protection diode, let me know and I'll start using it. I haven't researched it all. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is the pot. And in this design, I screwed it up. As you'll see, the holes, the pinouts don't match. But it doesn't matter because I still screwed it up. I did not tie the center to one of the ends. As you know, potentiometer, think of it as two different resistors in series and a center tap point, and that gives you a voltage drop over one of the sides depending upon how you wire it. And if you want to use it as a rheostat or just a variable resistor, you need to tie either there's a couple ways you can do this. You can either tie the center pin to one of the other ends. That will give you what you need. Or you can just connect to the center pin on one of the other ends, and that'll give you also what you need. So in this case I screwed it up, so let me show you what we're going to do. And then I'm going to get a large resistor. It's going to go through this hole. Okay, now what we're going to do is the two at the end are actually going to go together. They're going to be connected together. Try to make this so you can see it. It also helps if you clip these off. Put a little hot glue under there. Okay, so I want to attach that. I want to attach, pushing it a little bit, yep, that. And then I'm going to bridge those two. Now I've updated the schematic. In fact, I probably showed you the updated schematic. Now with this one, we're going to bend down this resistor, and we want it to touch the other pin. So what have I done? I fixed two things, actually. I made it a rheostat just by changing that out. Just by connecting the two pins here, I made it a rheostat. And I'm also increasing, this is a 10K pot, I'm increasing it by putting an inline resistor, and it will make it, Rudolph's nose, blink a little slower. Okay, so that should be it. Everything should be together. In the new design on KiCAD, I went ahead and got the right part footprint. So this should be correct. Let me grab a power supply and we will plug this in and see if it's working. Okay. Yep. And then, doesn't look like he's blinking. So let's take a look at why that is. You know why? Because I forgot a part. Duh. Okay. Yeah. Let's go ahead and put that in. You guys are like screaming at the screen. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work, you idiot. Some old man scream. It's not gonna work, you idiot. Come on, man. What's wrong with you? All right, let's try it again. There it goes. It's blinking. So you put the cover back on it, and you got a Rudolph blinking, and you can adjust his speed, but really not by much. Really need to use like a 100K pot. Yeah, it is changing, it's just not much. So anyway, there you go. You got the blinking, auto flashing. You got the slow auto flashers. I like the fast ones. It looks better, I think. All right, that's all there is to putting this thing together. Using a 5-volt power supply. Fun Christmas project for everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, that was an interesting project. Hope you enjoyed it. At least the kids can have fun with it. Learn something about 555 timers. So we're ending another year, 2021. Channel's slowly growing. If you've not subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you've got ideas, suggestions for other projects, please comment down below. I try to reply to all comments, and I'm certainly open to project ideas. I kind of feel like Santa Claus sitting here with all these goodies. I've got to actually put some more boards together for some friends' kids. Get them some of these projects so they can hang them on the tree. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Take care, and I'll see you next year.